I mean, 30, 40, 50 fish a day was a normal day on the water in Florida. And over the past 20 years, the spraying has increased so much that now you can't even find any of the grass that we used to fish.
An algae crisis threatening our treasure coast.
A cycle of despair and disgust amidst promises made and broken.
Billions of gallons of water are rushing from Lake Okeechobee to our coastline.
How much pollution is too much? How much danger is too much? How much before this will stop?
My name is Brandon Medlock. I've been in Florida since about '92. And I've been fishing these lakes since then. And when I first arrived to Florida, moved down here with my parents, the lakes were salad bowls. We had grass all the way out into open water, and you could go out and see the bottom in 4 and 5 foot of water, and the water was clean, and the fish were plentiful. We caught fish all over the place.
The state of Florida currently has a management plan for non-native plants that their end goal is basically trying to eliminate non-native plants. The primary method of doing that today, and the primary method that they've been using for decades now, is by chemical treatment or herbicides being sprayed onto those plants in the waters. What we're seeing is world-class bass fisheries that literally people travel from all over the planet to fish. These bucket list places like Lake Okeechobee and Lake Kissimmee that are declining.
At FWC, we focus our management efforts on the most problematic species, and those are water hyacinths and water lettuce. Water hyacinths is one of the fastest growing plants on the planet. It can double its population in as little as 2 weeks. And if you look at Florida's history, these invasive plants, if they're not managed, will cause significant economic harm and make our resources unusable.
People love Lake Okeechobee. They love fishing, they love duck hunting, they love recreating on the water. But something that nobody likes is to be poisoned. I don't want my neighbors to be poisoned, or my friends, or my kids, or anybody else to be poisoned. And you look at some of these chemicals that are being used, and you read the labels on the bottles. You think about aquathol and endothol and glyphosate, and the warnings that they give you that, you know what, if you're going to utilize this, put on an apron that's not going to be permeated, put on gloves. If this gets into your eyes, you're probably going to be blind. If you ingest this, you may very well die, or your liver, or your kidneys, or something else is going to fail. I don't want something like that in a water that I'm going to come in contact with, or anybody else that I know is going to come in contact with.
These places that you used to be able to see the bottom in 4 and 5 feet of water, you can't see 6 inches down. And the muck on the bottom from the accumulative spray, just all those plants dying and stacking on top of each other, has just created a layer of muck on the bottom where nothing's going to grow through it. Because right now they'll just spray, and then they'll come back in a month or two and spray it again, and it repeats. It's over and over and over. They just spray, 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 and it's going downhill. And if we don't get something done about it in 10 years from now, I don't know what it's going to be.
When you think about the spraying that's going on to manage invasive species, that's what should go through your mind is, am I being poisoned by the chemicals that are being used to kill plants? Would I take any one of those chemicals that's being used to kill plants and put my kids in a bathtub with it? Would I take any of those chemicals being used to kill plants and pour it into my drinking water supply? Would I take any of those chemicals that are being used to kill plants and say, you know what, let me go out there on a boat and then get into that water. Let me pull a fish out of that water. Let me pull something else out of that water. And I think the answer that we all come to is very simply, no. We don't want that, and we don't want that risk in our lives. You look at the system in the state of Florida where we're spending hundreds of billions of dollars to repair Florida's broken water system and Everglades and filter out nutrients and make sure that the water can be clean. And then you think that at the same time we're dumping chemicals into those same bodies of water that are at some point going to have to be taken out It's a perfect example of the left hand not talking to the right hand, and it's a perfect example of something that needs to come to an end because it's poisoning the people of the state of Florida.
The current management, chemical management, and trying to eliminate these non-native plants down to a zero sum is just creating massive holes in those ecosystems where there is no habitat.
Some of the ways that we work to reduce the use of herbicides is through integrated plant management. We use all the tools in our toolbox, biological controls, mechanical controls, and herbicide controls. But we also fund a significant amount of research, with that research focus being to reduce the use of herbicides. We've also increased our use of mechanical harvesting on floating plants. This year we have harvesters working on Lake Okeechobee currently, a little further south. And then we've also recently released what we call a request for information, looking for innovative ideas to manage invasive plants without the use of herbicides.
Aquatic management of invasive species in Florida is vital. And I'm not going to pretend for a second that it's simple. But we have to be at a point for Florida's environment that we can say, you know what, regardless of what needs to be done, we're not going to allow poisoning of our water supplies, poisoning of our lakes and rivers and streams. It's a bridge too far. We're not going to let it happen. Which is why I introduced legislation to say that no funding coming from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers shall be used for any chemical spraying. Beyond that, I think that this is all hands on deck for the state of Florida. That's why I've been reaching out to everybody I can at the state levels to say we need to bring this to an end. We need to find a better way to do this. We need to commit that if we wouldn't put something in the bathtub with one of our children, that we're not going to allow it into any one of our waterways.
We have a real problem in Florida right now with the way our aquatic plants are being managed, but what I am hopeful about is that we can change it. I'm hopeful that we will do that because of the public involvement, the public engagement.
The spraying has been so drastic on that lake that it has gotten to the point where there's hardly any weed edge anywhere. And it's truly a shame to look at something that was once such a great fishery and a great hunting location that has gone completely to pot.
What is the cost of maintaining our health? What is the cost that's incurred from all these different diseases?
Using helicopters to spray potent herbicides with extreme prejudice is just wrong.
Somebody needs to be held accountable. I'm begging, do the right thing. Stop putting poison in the water.
You know, the outdoor community is paying attention and they want to see change. They need to see change. And I think we have an opportunity right now and have Florida be, you know, the #1 outdoor fishing destination in the world.
I think the one thing that we always know as Americans is that we're always trying to find a better way. It's a part of who we are. We pride ourselves on our ingenuity. We pride ourselves on our ability to think around a problem, to find a new solution, to find a better way. I've been by companies and seen them developing technology to go out there and mechanically harvest the invasive species that are on the water. We have people out there that have the 20-pound heads that can find the right chemistry, the right biology, the right mixture of everything to get these things out of the water without having to poison our water supplies. This is something that we can figure out a way to do it better, and now is the time that we do it.